We're now towards the bottom of Daf Yud Beis, 5 lines up before the wide lines. Omer of Asi, somebody died without children. He left 2 wives. One of them is an islandess. And Rav Asi says that an islandess, not only is she asura al hayavam, but Saras island is asura. Even the other wife of the late brother, not the wife who's an islandess, is also excluded from Yibum. Shenemar, because the pasuk says in the parish of Yibum, Vaya b'chor asher teleid, and the end of the pasuk is Yakum al shem achiv hameis. Asher teleid, pratli islanded sheni oledis. So she's not included in the mitzvah of Yibum, and therefore she's back in the old Itzer Erva of Eishes Ach, and therefore Hatzara is Itzaras Erva of Eishes Ach. Therefore she's P'turim and Achalitzu and Ayibum, like all the Tzaras of the 15 Arayas listed in our Mishnah. Maser Rav Sheshes, we have halacha that was passed down in our tradition, that according to the Torah law, a Yevamot cannot be niknes, bekesef or b'shtar, but only with bia. Midrabanan, if he was Makadesh, if the Yavam was Makadesh the Yavama with either Kesef or Shtar, that's called Kedushay Maimar, and the Rabbanan recognize it as Kedushin. However, that doesn't remove the Zika. She still falls for Yibum, and on the Torah level, she needs Chalitza in order to permit her to marry another man. And that's what we learned in the Mishnah later on at Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Beis, Shlosha Achim, Nesuim l'shalosh nashim nachrios. So 3 brothers, we'll call them Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, were married to each one a wife that was not related one to the other. Wives are not related to anyone. They're nachrios. Umeis echad mehem v'asa ba'asheni maimar. So now we have a situation in which, let's say, Reuven dies, and Reuven was married to Sarah. Shimon was married to Rivka. Levi was married to Rachel. They're not related to each other. Sarah, Rivka, Rachel. Now, when Reuven dies, Sarah falls for him in front of Shimon and Levi. Shimon did a maimar of kesef or shtar, which Rabbanan established in the Yevamot is kona, and therefore she becomes asura. We're talking about Sarah Eshes Reuven on the other Achin, which would mean in this case on Levi. She still is Kukal Yibum. The Maimer is not a Kinyan Gomur. The Zika is still in place, and you need Chalitza. Now Shimon died. He didn't get a chance to be Miyabim Sarah, and he had only done Maimer and Sarah. Now Sarah, together with Rivka, who is Shimon's wife, falls for Yibum with Shimon's death in front of Levi. So Rivka falls in front of Levi from the Sui Shimon, Sarah from the Sune Ruvain plus the Maimer of Shimon. So Sarah and Rivka in this case are Choltzos, the Einon Misyabnos. The Rabbanan made a Gzeira that we should choose to identify the Balas HaMaimar as if she were indeed married to Shimon who did the Maimar. And that generates an Isur on Levi. And in addition to that, Rivka is considered like a Tzaras Ereva. And therefore, Shlosh Achim Nesuim, L'Shlosh Nachrios, Noshim Nachrios, Umeis Echad Mehem, V'asa Ba'asheni Maimar, Umeis. So he said that Shimon did a Maimar with H.S. Reuven, that is Sarah, then Shimon died. He has another wife named Rivka. Arei Elu, meaning both Sarah, who's the Balas Maimar, and Rivka Hatzara Cholzos Velomas Yamos. Again, if Shimon would have been Miyabim Sarah before he died, then the Zika to Reuven would have been completely removed, undermined, replaced by the Ishus to Shimon through Yibum. And then Sarah would be considered the wife of Shimon L'chol Davar. And when Sarah, falls to Yibum in front of Levi, all systems go. Everything is clear for him to be Miyabim Sarah. If he had not done Maimar at all, then under the Zika of Reuven, she would have fallen for Yibum to Levi. But once he does a Maimar, Shimon, then she is Knuyalo b'miktas. But yet she still has a Zika to the Rishon, to Reuven who died. So she's considered like Eshes Shnei Mason, as if she fell for Yibum to Levi based on both a Zika to Reuven and a Zika to Shimon. And then when she falls to Levi under this Zika Shnei Mason, then according to the Torah law, he could be Miyabim, Levi could be Miyabim, both of them. One through the Zika to Reuven, and the other through the Zika to Shimon. Because if each one falls for Yibum from a different brother, like for example, let's say two Yevamot fell for Yibum to a third brother, but each one because of the Zika to a different brother, that would be fine. But the Chachamim said that in this case, Levi cannot be Miyabim either one of these two wives, neither Sarah H.S. Reuven, nor Rivka, the Tzara of Sarah. And even though these two women, Sarah and Rivka, really fall for Yibum from two different brothers, Sarah from Reuven and Rivka from Shimon, nevertheless, it looks like they're coming both from Shimon because Shimon had implemented a Maimar to Sarah. Shenemar umeis echad mehem Yevamot yavo oleh. Mi sheyesh oleh zikas Yevamot echad velo zikas shnei Yevamot. So again, they both need chalitza because Minat Torah the Maimer is not Kohen at all. So really, Sarah is just the Ashes of Rishon, but because the Rabbanan recognize and validate the Maimar, it's as if she's married to Shimon, and she still has the Zika Doraisa to Reuven, that hasn't been undermined, so it's like Eshes Shnei Mason. Nimtza Shehivet Sarasa Vos Mishnei Batim B'chol Achas Mehen Tzricha Chalitza B'fnei Atzma. So each one needs her own chalitza. Uktani Allah, on this mission it says, Omer Rav Yosef, this case of Eshes and Mason, Zohi Tzaras Eshes Ach Me'av, She'isur Nefila Garam La Shete Oser B'Yibum. The fact that she has an afil from Shnei Mason of Hatzara, that caused her that she should be Asura B'Yibum. Shalomatzina B'chalatar Kula Kigon Tzos. We don't find that a tzara could be Asura because of the tzaras Eches Ach. But in Rabbanan, we have a tzara of Eshes Shnei Mason, and therefore there is an Isur Nefil. So if Sheshes now finishes up his kasha by saying that what Rav Yosef says, Zuhi, this case it's Tzaras Eshes Ach Me'av, is Asura L'Me'ute Mai, Lav Limaute Tsaras island is the Sharia. That the tsar of an islandess is muteris liimo. So it means that the islandess herself is not asur mishum ervas eshes achi achmenaav shelo b'makom mitzvah, and the tsar is therefore not a tsar of an eshes ach, and she's only. He says here, "V'ein tsaras eshes ach asura chutz me'eshes shnei meis." So the Gemara rejects this kash. Look, that wasn't what Rav Yosef had in mind. But rather, Bola Mu'ute Tsaras Islandist Asira. That Tsaras Islandist is not like Tsaras Esha Shnei Mesim, Umay Zuhi. And what was the intention of Rav Yosef when he said Zohi? Zohi, the Isa Nefila Garmla Litzarasa. By Chalitza. However, island is afilu chalitza lo boy. My timer chamidoraisa ha dirabanan. In the case of islandess, when she's excluded from Yibum, she goes back to her state of an erva of Eshes Ach. And therefore she partners up her Torah even from Chalitza. But her, the case of Eshes Shnei Mesim and her Torah, the reason why the P'tura Midrabanan, the P'tura Minayim is only Midrabanan. And therefore there's no Gzeres Chachamim on that. El Chumra, V'lo Lahakil L'fotra Min HaChalitza. The Takanas Chachamim is only a Gzeir L'chumra, but it cannot undermine the Din Doraisa that she requires Chalitza. So now the Gemara asks another question on Ravasi. Tanan, we have a Bryce of a Kulon, all 15 arayas. In Mesu o Mianu, o Nizgarshu, o Shenimtu Islanders, Tsorosea Mutaros. We see that islandess does not generate an Isu Tzara, even if she's an erva on the Yevamot. That's against Ravasi. More answers lokash. Kan shehikir ba, kan shelo hikir ba. Ravasi is talking about an islandess shehikir ba. The Baal, the Chasnatsuan, knew he was tipped off that she was an islandess. So there's no mekachtos here in his kedusha when he finds out later that she's an islandess. Because Almanas came knowing full well that she's an islandess, Kivcha, he was Makadisha, he married her. But Khan, in our Mishnah, we're talking about Misha Lo Hikirba. So that means at the time of the marriage with Chas Kedushin, the Baal did not know, nobody appraised them of the fact that she, the Kala, is an islandess. And therefore it's Kedushay Tos. And if that be the case, we understand very well why the Tzara is Muteris Liyima. Because there's no Tzaras Erev over here, because the island is, in a case of Lo Hikirba, is Kedushay Tos. And the Gemara says, Dekanaimi, we could be medayik this as well to support this interpretation that Dafka Lo Hikirba, then Tzaras Muteris. Doktani Shenimtzu Islands, Loktani Shahayu Islands. Nimtzu means the law found them to be islands. And it's only after the Nisuin when that halacha was formulated. And we're talking about a case of Lo Hikirba, and therefore it's Kedushay Tos, and that's why the islandess is Muteris. Shmamina. Gemara accepts that Hochacha, that proof from our Mishnah, to support Ravasi, that if Hikirba Baila, her husband at the time of the marriage, knew that she was an islandess, Arehi Poteres es Sarasa Minachalitza Minayib. And now we're up to Amar Rav. Ilchasa, and here on Daf Yud Beis Amid Beis, Ilchasa Tsoras Islandis Muteres Vafil Hikerba.